I faked winning the lottery just to destroy my greedy family. Sounds insane, right? But if you knew my family, you'd get it. They worship money like it's the only thing that matters. When I landed my first job, they didn't ask what I did, just what's the salary? And when I told them, my cousin Derek laughed and said, that's it? I make more selling sneakers online. It was always like that. Constant one-upmanship, constant judgment. If I showed up in a new shirt, someone would say, that brand? Couldn't afford better? At Christmas, they didn't even hide it. Everyone bragged about how much they'd spent, turning what should have been family time into a competition. Once, I gave a handmade photo album as a gift, something personal, and my aunt rolled her eyes and said, couldn't afford something real? That one stung. And when my grandma died, the only person who ever showed me unconditional love, nobody even cried at the funeral. My aunt literally whispered, did she leave you anything? While we were still at the gravesite. Later that same night, my uncles almost came to blows over who would get her old car. Nobody talked about her laugh or her cooking, just who got what. That was the moment I knew. These people would eat each other alive if it meant an extra $1. So I decided to test them. I bought a cheap lottery ticket and staged the performance of a lifetime. At a family barbecue, I scratched it at the table, gasped and shouted, $50,000! Everyone rushed to see, grabbing the ticket, double-checking the numbers. My dad slapped my back and said, well, about time you caught a break. And just like that, I planted the seed. Over the next few weeks, I kept dropping hints. Been reading about investing sudden wealth. If I ever hit it big, I'd buy grandma's house back. Nothing too crazy, just enough to keep them curious. Then 3 months later, I made my move. At dinner, I showed up pale, shaking, holding a fake printout I'd made. I hit the jackpot, I whispered. 600 million. At first, they laughed, but when I showed them the numbers, the room erupted. Hugs, cheers, fake tears. People who hadn't texted me in years suddenly called every day. My cousin Tiffany said, I always knew you were destined for greatness. Derek offered to manage my portfolio since he was good with stocks. My parents said they were proud, then immediately slid a glossy brochure across the table. A $2 million mansion. For the family, they said, and the backstabbing started fast. Derek accused Tiffany of cozying up to me for her share. Tiffany called Derek a parasite. Two uncles nearly fought at a barbecue over who would be my financial advisor. My aunt's husband quit his job, assuming I'd cover his bills. Someone even messaged me a business plan for a family-owned casino. It was pure chaos. The breaking point came at a party when my parents stood up and proudly announced that I'd agreed to buy them that mansion. I never said that, but they'd already put down a deposit, confident I'd cover it. That was my moment. I sat them down, looked them dead in the eye, and said, there is no lottery. I made it all up. They thought I was joking until I told them to check the numbers themselves. The color drained from their faces. My mom whispered, but the house. My dad shouted, do you realize what you've done? And I just smiled. The fallout was nuclear. Derek had already quit his job waiting to work for me. Now he's broke. Tiffany dumped her boyfriend for a richer future that never came. My parents lost their deposit and call me cruel for not paying it back. Even worse, they still tried to guilt me, saying I owed them for raising me. That part almost made me laugh. But here's the truth. I didn't ruin their lives. Their greed did. Most of them don't talk to me anymore. And honestly, I like it better that way, because at least now I know the truth. They never loved me. They only loved what they thought I had. And that peace, that's worth more than any lottery win.